Thanks to Baron of Dice, Grey Matter Gaming, and Monument Hobbies for sponsoring this video. You're not gonna believe this, but the Chaos Daemons Blood Legion Detachment is themed around Khorne and hurling your angry little red guys at the enemy as hard and fast as possible. Today we'll find out if it's worth trading out the Demonic Incursion's 6-inch deep strike for whatever bloody bonuses lie within, and you can follow along at your own pace at goonhammer.com, link in the description. Detachment rules: Murder Call and Blood Tainted. Murder Call: when an enemy unit ends a normal or advanced move within 6 inches of a Khorne Demon's unit, you can make a d6-inch surge move towards that enemy unit, must end that move as close as possible to that enemy unit, and can end within engagement range of that enemy unit. This ability cannot be used on a unit that's already in engagement range. Blood Tainted: at the end of a phase where a Khorne Demon's unit destroys an enemy unit that's on an objective, if your objective control score on that objective exceeds your opponent's, that objective remains under your control until your opponent exceeds your objective control on that objective. Surge moves are good to have in general, and Murder Call is a solid way to screw with your opponent's plans or just get closer. Just remember that you can only surge move once per phase. As for Blood Tainted, it's a sticky objective rule, and what's stickier than congealed blood? Wait, please don't answer that. The key value here is immediately flipping an objective and making it sticky when you kill everything on it, leaving you free to move on to the next target. This can be a bit situational since it requires killing stuff, but hey, that's your whole deal. It does work with shooting as well though, so your soul grinders and skull cannons can also help here if you have something on your target objective to capitalize. The enhancements here are split between monsters and lesser demon characters, and generally help you do all the murder, death, kill, coronate stuff you'd expect. Slaughterthirst gives your character a 6-inch lance aura to everything but your monsters. It's pricey, but you should be windmill slamming this into every list you build, as it lets even your bloodletters punch well above their weight. Fury's Cage lets one of your monsters take a few mortal wounds in exchange for full rerolls to hit and wound. Turning the murder dial up to 11 at the cost of your own safety is corny as hell, and absolutely worth it here. Brazen Maw adds +2 to charge rolls of the character's unit. If you're running Blood Crushers, this is a must-have. Gateway Unto Damnation lets your monster's deadly demise trigger on a 2-up, and if they've killed any units this game, their explosion causes D3+3 mortal wounds. This isn't the best enhancement, but it is one of the funniest, and that makes it worth taking if you've got the 10 points to spare. The stratagems for this detachment are as useful as they are flavorful. Wrath Undeniable is a typical fight on death stratagem, letting your dudes swing away on a 4-up if they die and haven't fought yet. It's best on a unit of bloodletters. Every demon detachment has something to the effect of Gore-Hungry Onslaught, which lets one of your units freely move through terrain like a Kool-Aid man filled with blood. Full send this one on one of your big cavalry or monster units and charge through that wall. Skulls Beget Blood is the grenade stratagem with the flavor text that you're throwing exploding skulls instead. Talk about mind-blowing. Blood Begets Skulls lets one of your units advance and charge. This is great in any melee army, and they don't get more melee-centric than Khorne. Fool's Flight lets one of your units charge an enemy unit after that unit falls back. At 2 command points, it's pretty spendy, but there might be some cases where it's worth it to keep a key unit tied up or your own guys safe from shooting. Sheathed in Brass gives one of your units a 3-up armor save when they're targeted with a shooting attack. If you're specifically being shot by AP1 and your guys are in cover, this might be worth it sometimes, but it's not generally that great. The challenge with this army will be getting shot off the board before it can close with your opponent. Be'lakor is always handy for this, even if he isn't down with the Khornate lifestyle, but your main way of getting around this will be by surging into enemy units or staging carefully and sending your meanest marauding murderers through walls at the enemy line. This will require being smart about your deployment and figuring out which objectives you can nab with Blood Tainted. There's also a few stratagems and enhancements that really seem to want you taking bloodletters, but they're not numerous, durable, or really even fast enough to lean into. Blood Crushers, Cannons, and Bloodthirsters are the names of the game here. Skull Taker is also a good pick, as he's the best way to get the command points you need to carry out some proper murder. Let's go over the strengths and weaknesses. Charging through walls with your Blood Crushers and monsters owns. Reliable charges with a bonus to charge distance enhancement and advance and charge stratagem. New Blood Surge, allowing for area control or impromptu heroic interventions. Now the problem is, Khorne hates getting shot, and there's not much to help their durability. Losing that 6-inch deep strike from the index detachment also means you're gonna need to figure a new way to close with the enemy. And while Blood Tainted is neat, it's a hard way to set up sticky objectives, and you'll likely never use it on your home objective where you want it most. Sometimes an army does exactly what it says on the tin, and we appreciate that truth in advertising. The Legion of Blood looks to be an excellent way of getting Khorne's Chosen into combat and hitting even harder once they get there. The only problem will be making it there in one piece, and time will tell how this stacks up to the Demonic Incursion detachment for going that distance. If that wasn't enough high fructose corn syrup for you, head on over to goonhammer.com to read more about this detachment, and hell, all the other new demon ones too. You can also support us on Patreon for access to things, stuff, and doodads, but not necessarily in that order. We'd also like to thank our sponsors, Baron of Dice, Monument Hobbies, and Grey Matter Gaming for sponsoring this video. I've been Corndog McBloodbag, and I'm O positive about this detachment. Thanks for watching.